Hi everybody, I'm Dominic from askmediy.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solder copper pipe for plumbing. It's a little technical, but again, then it's very easy, okay? Just a couple little things that you don't want to miss out on it, which a lot of people have a misconception using the flux and the solder, and that you need this big gigantic plumber's torch. Here's my plumber's torch. It's a propane tank, automatic igniter on it. Works great. I do have a acetylene one if you have a lot to do and you need a lot of heat. But I tell you, 9 times out of 10, I pick this little one up, especially for smaller jobs. This pipe is copper. This one is copper. Obviously, 2 different sizes. This pipe is 80 years old, and it's copper, but it's 80 years old. Now, chances are you're doing a repair in your house or somewhere, and you're dealing with old pipe. Not always really bright copper like this. Now, even this copper has to be cleaned. So let's get going, and first I'm going to show you how to cut the pipe. Okay, so let's get going cutting our 80-year-old pipe. Now, being that I have it in my hand, I can use any pipe cutter I want. This is a nice pipe cutter, but it does require some room as we're going to be spinning it around. If you're in a tight spot, you can use one of these little thumb ones. They work, just not as good as these, I would say. Depending on the brand, you always want to make sure you have a good blade. This is your blade here. This one is, it's used, but it's good. Once you put the cutter on, just snug up just a little teeny bit, not a lot, because then you end up warping the pipe and it'll be too hard to turn. So you just go like that, and you feel pressure on it. You do this maybe like 3 times, and just give it a little crack. Just tighten up just a little teeny bit. And that's what you're going to be doing. You keep going. Now we got the pipe cut. Like I was saying, the blade of the pipe cutter pushes stuff in, pushes the copper in, which leaves us a nice lip in here, sometimes even sharp. It is important that we get rid of that. Now, you do have reamers that you just push in and turn, and it cleans it all up. Honestly, I end up breaking them. I end up losing them. I have a file here. It's copper being copper. It's soft. I just get in there and I scrape it out, just like this with a little file. It's, I mean, real easy. You can use quite a few different types of methods and tools. That's it, just like that, and it's gone. Now the outside, you got that little lip right here too. Okay, but now we're gonna clean this up, and we're gonna solder these 2 pieces back together. Okay, now we have our 2 pieces. I'm gonna show you how to put them together using a coupling. Now what a coupling is, it's a 3/4, but it's slightly bigger, so we can go over the pipe. Okay, it's not the same size of the pipe, because obviously that wouldn't work. Now we want to clean this up. Now if you look at our coupling, half of that, we're really only going to there, but we actually want to sand a lot more than just the edge. Now, in my opinion, there's only one way to clean pipe, and that's with an emery cloth. Comes on little rolls like this. I mean, there's other people use other ways. I mean, me, no thanks. Just put it in. If you're like this, if you have the pipes in your hand, and lots of times you would, I mean, look at that. A couple seconds. And although that may look clean, but no. Not clean enough. Just, a little bit more. Yeah, okay, now that's good. Now at the same time, by using the emery cloth, I'm getting rid of this little lip here. So this piece slides on nice, okay? Now I'm gonna go clean the other side up, and we'll put some flux on there, and I'll explain. Okay, now that we have our pipes cleaned here, I'm gonna show you on the coupling that we're gonna solder onto this. Now if you look at the pipes, they look all nice and shiny copper, and our coupling that was just bought, nice and clean. I mean, if you look at it shinier than this, you would think you can save a step. Not true, you must. Copper oxidizes like almost immediately. So you want to get that oxidation off. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You could, I mean, everybody makes a tool to do something, right? Normally we have these wire brushes, one's for 1/2 inch, one's for 3/4. You just put it in and give it a couple turns. I won't say a couple turns, but you want to stay in there. Clean it up, make sure it's scored up, and take a look inside there, and you'll see that it's scored and it's not as shiny as it was previously, okay? Or you can get some of your emery cloth. Just get a little piece. It's a little harder on 1/2 inch because it's skinnier, but the 3/4, get a little piece of sandpaper, fold it up, and you just score it up like that, and it works. It works a lot better actually than the wire brush, but if you have a lot of them to do, and it's not necessary. Okay, we have our 3 pieces here that we want to join together. So the next thing is flux. This is our flux. Our flux is it's a paste, it's an acid that cleans the copper and attracts the solder. Without this, the solder will just roll off. It won't even do anything. It's kind of comical, but it won't do anything at all. If you're using the pipe, and chances are for some form of domestic water, either hot or cold, doesn't matter, you don't want lead, obviously. I mean, nobody wants to start drinking the lead and stuff. So make sure it's a lead-free, as well as your solder, which we'll cover in a bit. Now, I've seen people do this constantly. People says, "Oh, I solder the whole house." Yeah. Okay, so let's get a close-up. I'm going to show you how to put the solder on. Okay, our pipe cleaned, no flux on it. With an acid brush, I mean, you can use anything you want, but want a brush. Want to bring the flux all the way around, okay? I mean, this flux is cold, I'm cold, the shop is cold. Make sure you bring it around. Now, I'm doing this on a bench, so I mean, I can roll the pipe. What you don't want to do is just miss any spot here. Not so much the beginning or the end, but straight across like this. If I remove that flux, well, we're going to have a problem. Okay, so real important that you cover it completely. How much? Enough that you can see it and that you know it's there. That's how much flux you want to use. Can you use too much? Well, you can in a sense, and I'll show you when we're soldering, because you're going to see the flux melt like immediately. But keep in mind, it's still there. But what falls in the pipe will harden over time. So after you're all done, it's important that you just use the water and get it out. Same thing with our coupling. You want to go in here, both sides, okay, like that. So it's very important that you do have your flux on both pieces, your fittings and your pipe. Just like that. Now we're going to just go and do the other, and then we can start soldering this together. Okay, now we're getting ready to solder our pipe. So I have my propane torch here, and one thing, this old guy a long time ago was watching me solder, and he's like, "Hey, why are you doing it like that? Why don't you use a rag?" I'm like, "Rag? What are you talking about?" Yeah, tells me you get a rag, damp it down, with water, and then you're going to use that to clean off the flux while the solder is pretty damn hot. Now, it's really important that once we're soldering a pipe, we don't want to move that pipe. Whether it be on your bench like this, which I doubt it, or in your house, you give it time to cool before you pressurize it with water. You touch another end of it, let it cool off. Because the one thing you don't want, any kind of weld, soldering, welding, you don't want to break it as it's cooling down, because it will fracture. You may not see it, but you definitely will. And the one thing with flux, while it's cooling, you'll see that it's going to be shiny. And while it's cooling, it's going to stay pretty much shiny. Well, we don't want to shock cool it. We don't want to do anything that will change the color of it, because if that happens, well, besides the fresh extraction, you'll see it'll change color. It'll get like pretty to a dull color. So let's get going with this. I got my rag handy. Oh, one more thing. My fire extinguisher. Let's see where it is, right here. Always have a fire extinguisher or a water hose ready to go. And I'll tell you a story about that afterwards. Okay, so let's get soldering. Okay, let's get heating up here. Now we're going to do this in real time. I'm not going to fast forward or anything. You can see the flux is already dripping off. It's already going away. That's fine. All right, it's only been a couple seconds. I know that it's not hot enough. I got my solder here ready to go. So I can just touch the solder like that. And nothing happened. Now let me do this side. Camera can see a little bit better. Oh, you see a little bit left, just left there? All right, we're getting hot enough. Now, I don't want to heat the pipe over here. I want to heat the joint, what I'm trying to solder. Because the solder is going to be attracted to the heat and suck into it. And there you go. Real simple. Like that. Make sure it's all good. Turn the torch off. While it's cooling, but fast enough, I get my rag and I wipe, whoop, my pipe just moved. Look at that. Look at that joint. Professionally, real quick. All right, now we heated that up for, I don't know, 15 seconds maybe, not very long. If we had another one over here and here and here, well, that heat just keeps going and going. So we only got to touch it with the torch. So you can see how nice and shiny that is, and it's going all the way around. So let's get this pipe, okay, go against what I just told you, not touch it, and just go around. See how the solder went right around the pipe, just like that? Kind of like magic. Pretty okay. Now that I showed you how to solder a pipe, suppose you got to solder a pipe that's going through a wall or through a piece of wood like this. Okay, well, you don't want to burn your house down or anywhere else. We can't move our pipe like I did before. A piece of emery cloth again. 2 seconds, look at that. And you can just go around like that. Real simple. Get our fitting here. I'm going to score that up just like I showed you before. Get our flux. Oop, wrong side. And make sure the flux is all in there. Again, just like that. It's all the way around. Boom. Real time. I didn't fast forward anything because I wanted to show you. Okay, but let's get doing soldering this with this flame. Now, once the flame hits an object, obviously it's going to spread out. I'm going to show you that although, okay, I got this wood. I made this obviously to show you, but I'm going to show you, like, you watch it here. Oh, not so bad. Okay, you can see the wood burning a little bit. I mean, obviously, honestly, it's fine. You know, you just got to pay attention to it. But I want to show you how the flame can come out through the wall, and you may not know it. Now, a new construction, even old construction, if they don't clean up really well, when they drilled this hole, all that sawdust, those chunks of wood, went probably not very far from you, which will catch on fire pretty quickly. Okay, so let me show you how the flame goes through. See that? Okay, now that I showed you how the wood can burn and the flame can go through, one way to help that is just a simple piece of tin. This is a piece of flashing. Just cut out a notch in here. Pretty simple to do. Not rocket science here, okay? Well, maybe it is. Just a little bit. Okay, we got it going. Oh, boy. Ooh. These clippers seen better days. Oh. Okay, seen better days. You can go over something like that. But a better way, work your flame away from it. And that's what I'm going to show you. You can put a piece of metal. You can get a rag, soaking wet, not just damp like my cleaning rag here. Go up and around it. They make a fabric for welders and soldering any torches that go around. Believe it or not, this is fire retardant. Okay, but I'm going to show you how not, because obviously whatever you covered up, you're really not going to see. But let's just go away with the flame, just like that. See? The wood is not scoring, and this is not a fake flame. See? That's a real flame. And we're just going to solder this one, get it hot enough, just like I showed you before. Ta-da. Cold flame. And there we go. Just like that. And then we can get our rag and clean that joint. See if we can get a close-up of that joint, Tom. And see how nice and clean and professional that joint looks. And we only got a little, maybe. And that's how you do it. So what else can I show you in plumbing? Okay, now that I showed you how to solder the copper pipe, what about if we have to take one apart? We have to take the joint apart for whatever reason. Normally, if I have to, I just start cutting it out of the way, then using the couplings to join it back together and new pieces. Honestly, it's just a lot easier, but sometimes it's more involved to do what I just said. So let's take this joint apart. Let's take it from up here. Okay, keep in mind though, once I start taking this pipe out here, it's gonna get so hot that this other joint's gonna become loose. So you have to be really careful, because although it will heat up and become loose and then cool off and then now it's hard again, doesn't mean it's not gonna leak there. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat this one up. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you. I showed you how to heat the pipe, the fitting, and to apply the solder to it. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is heat it up so hot that the solder just melts on contact, because now that flux you put on, that flux is gone. It's already burnt away, okay? So, didn't want to forget I told you on that. To take a joint apart, normally you would cut the pipe or whatever. Million different scenarios. In this particular way, I'm just going to use a pair of pliers, but I'm not going to crank down on these. When I'm heating this, you're going to see the solder start to come down. That's a little indication that I can maybe start by moving the pipe. And as the pipe starts moving back and forth, I'm going to be pulling it out at the same time. Now, some of these, depending on what solder they use, and this seems pretty old joint, so who knows what they use. So I'm just going to start heating it up. And again, I'm heating this point. I'm not heating the pipe. I'm heating the actual joint up here, okay? Oh, look at that. Oops, see the solder coming? No, not good enough. Again, I don't want to put a lot of pressure. I do want to maybe go around the other side. Oh, and here we go. Okay, keep the flame on it. Move it very gently. Get it out. Okay, got that? Okay, you got solder? Okay, there we go. We use our rag again, our damp rag, and we remove the solder from that. Although it's still there, but you can see it's a lot less of it because we want to go back with that. Now inside here, I mean, that's already too late. That already cooled off. Yeah, you can see, no good there. So say we want to reuse that joint, I mean, that's pretty tight. No, it actually goes in. Not too bad, actually. Okay, so, let's put this joint back together. For whatever reason, we took it apart, don't know, but let's put it back together. So let's score things up, clean it up a little bit. We'll reduce the amount of solder that's in it so it would go in nice and easier, rather. Get our wire wheel, put it back in, get our flux. Now check this out, because this is hot, right? Remember this, how hot it was? Yeah, it's melting all over it. And that's fine, as long as it's on there. We gotta do the same for in here, okay? Now, let's put it back in. But it really doesn't go back in that easy. That's fine. Well, went in a little bit, but now we want it all the way in. So let's heat it up. Not the pipe. Just the fitting. Heat it up. And the same way. Okay, it's back in. Get our solder. Now we want to get some heat on it. Boom. Back in. Very simple. Now, if you look, I'm on a rolling cart here, guys. So how much pressure was I really putting on this thing for this cart not to move around? Okay, so now you got your pipes together. Now let's say you have water in the pipe. You turn the water off. Now turning the water off doesn't do anything except turn the water off. Your water's still left into all your plumbing. If you're upstairs, that's good. Okay, so let's start turning the faucets on downstairs and get that water to come out, as well as turn the faucets on upstairs so it could suck the air and go out, down, about. If you're in a basement, whatever it may be. Say you're in a basement, okay, and you got this pipe, say a heating pipe, and it goes like this and it comes up on the sides, but you got to do something here because it's leaking. No matter what you do, you're never going to get that water out. One way to get the water out is get a pipe cutter and cut it. You can get a drill a small hole into the bottom of the pipe, preferably where you're going to cut it, or just cut it. You have to get all the water out of the pipe. I mean, like all of it. Even if you think you have a little water in there, use a vacuum. Put a vacuum, a wet dry vac, not your wife's vac. She won't like it very much. Hook it onto the pipe and just keep it there for a while. Put you get your hands and cup around it and start sucking all that water out, and you'll feel it. Or if the pipe is long enough, let's say a pipe like this, it pipes up there like this, you cut it, water came out, but there's still more water. Well, you want all that water out. You can maybe pull down the pipe a little bit, depending upon how it is, both sides. And if you do that, you should see a lot more water coming out. Then you go to, after you did all your connections, you cleaned up everything, you go to solder it. If that water is left in there, well, you're going to create steam within that system. And steam is pressure. And that will just blow your joint apart, or be able to get half of it soldered, but the steam's coming out the other end. And it's just a nightmare. But I guess that's all experience. Any more tips I can tell you about soldering pipe? Yeah, copper's expensive. Don't burn down yet. Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to tell you a story. The story I wanted to tell you. Very short story, but it should help you a little bit. And it's definitely not how to solder pipe. I'm soldering this whole house. So I'm going around soldering all over the place for the heat, the bathrooms, and all that. And I'm being really careful on the wood. You know, a couple pieces are scarred up a little bit, not a big deal. And I'm going around and I'm like, I smell wood burning. Something's burning. I'm like, started freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. And the homeowner is only right outside doing whatever he's doing. And I'm going around, I get the fire extinguisher, I'm looking for the hose, I'm looking for fire, I'm looking for smoke. I'm going all around, I'm like, whoa, what the heck? I go to the window, I'm like, and this stupid idiot is burning all the scrap wood from building this guy's house outside. So there's smoke filling the whole house up and all that. And I went outside, I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm burning your scrap wood, you don't need it anymore, right? So actually, I kind of did. But it would have been nice if you would have told me that you're going to light a big bonfire while I'm inside your house with a torch. Needless to say, I took the rest of the day off. Anyway, I'm Dominic. Thanks for watching.